Hello and welcome to the Daily Loop. Right, one thing we did say that we were going to cover that we didn't. There's a couple friendlies here. Actually, we twice requested one, and with the intention to play it with the new feature to check the attributes in the match and talk about that a little bit. But in both instances, we got dragged away and didn't actually get to play the match. So one of them we drew, one of them we won. I didn't watch it, haven't checked the stats, nothing. But one thing we did say is we quickly checked the match report for this match that we also had to disconnect from. It was a youth match. It was the second one we started it off, and we just didn't finish it. We didn't stay connected. Had our dinner ready and just decided to grab that, so to have that instead of playing the match. So we said we'll look at it a bit. I'm not sure there's a lot to discuss really. We said we'll look at the stats and do some analysis into some stuff, but I'm not sure it makes that much sense because we just dominated the match, basically. So I'm not sure it really makes that much sense to check the stats for this match versus any other matches, but yeah, I mean, we know for a fact that the shots are just, with the way that the tactic is set up, like the bulk of the shots are going to be with the strikers. The AMC may get the odd shot, and the MCs may occasionally have a shot as well. And we're not really expecting like that deviate a lot. We really are expecting the bulk of the shots to be with the strikers with this tactic, and that was the case. You can look at the fullbacks a bit. So they got like 5 interceptions. I think that's a bit of a sign about how well they are sort of pinning the opposition back. They actually had quite a lot of dribbling touches, so they were quite actively involved in this match. So yeah, I think it's just, let's just get on with the daily loop. So one thing should have mentioned at the beginning, this game is 90 Minute Fever. It's free to play. It's available on Steam Early Access at the moment. First thing we normally do on these videos is we just check the transfer bids. So we didn't get any today. Then we're going to check the academy trialists. So the marking doesn't really matter for this player. It's 25. The natural fitness matters somewhat. It's 8. The speed's next. We're waiting for that at the moment. The finishing come up. That's 26. I think that is okay. So we'll keep this player around for now. It's not completely ideal because ideally that'd be the up and back wide midfielder role if they were to end up in the team. That's probably what we'd want them to have. So ideally the finishing would be a bit better, but you know, it's okay. Like, it is what it is. This guy endurance come out at 30, I suppose. It's also okay. Finishing is 60, obviously that's good, and agility come out at 14. Right, so I think now we're loosely okay to just wait on all these guys to get some more attributes still. We'll just see if there happens to be some player that looks really nice. Right, don't use left back, don't use right back. If we did, he could be worth just keeping for a day because he's got 53 tackling, which is good. He's got good positioning, good dribbling, and the speed's the next one, so that's a good candidate to pick if you are using a fullback, but we're not. Right, only 4 speed. Both only got 4 speed. Yep, they both only got 4 speed. Right, only got 19 speed. Only got 13 speed. Not really interested in a keeper, so just 21 tackling. Right, this guy's got 55 passing, 47 vision, so that's pretty decent. 55 aerial ability, so that's nice. Good finishing, good enough at finishing composure. The tackling is next, which is pretty interesting for us, so he could be worth bringing in. We'll look at that a bit. Just quickly see if there's anybody else. Like I said, we're not particularly interested in keepers. This guy, I think we'll just stick with the one that we've got if we're going to have an AML, which I think this one again, we're just going to stick with the AMR. It's only got 12 passing, yeah, and only got 18 passing. So it's just that one, this one guy here. Just, he's got a good attribute. I think in the end we would be interested to ultimately pick him in the speed, the work rate, and the determination. So, and they're all pretty late, which isn't great, but there is some flexibility there. That's the thing. I think if the tackling comes out high, like 55 or something, or 50, let's say, then we don't need him to be fast. We just don't want him to be slow. So even if and the work rate can make up for that a bit for what we need for him to get back. So let's say, for argument's sake, the speed was 30 to 35, and the work rate was like 45. Like, we could work with that, and and again, so we don't need these things to be super high. We just need them to be sort of like 30 upwards ish. So I think, and the control ideally. So I think he could be quite the player. There's some flexibility there. The main thing we just want is a high tackling, and that's the one that we'd find out next. So I think we should try and probably work him in. I'm just not sure instead of who. Again, ideally this guy is quite well poised for good reveals coming up next. This guy, the control is a pretty big deal. Like, this guy is I think that guy we want to keep in. This guy we want to keep in. This guy, the composure doesn't matter that much. The tackling is going to matter a lot, but then the speed does matter more. And I feel like this guy so far is the one that we can probably give up easiest. This guy, I also feel like he's probably not gonna like, you're waiting a long time on this guy because you're going to want to know. You could eliminate him if the speed is low, but ultimately, in order to be able to keep this guy, he's going to need high finishing, and that's right near the end. This guy, he has got the high tackling, so I think we will leave that guy in. And then this guy, I feel like yeah, so I feel like it's probably this one, just because the marking is pretty high. He could be a DMC, I don't know. I feel like it's probably this guy out of all of them, just because we had an eye on him as a wide midfielder. For all we know, the tackling isn't that high either, and again, we're waiting for ages for the speed to find out anything. So I think we'll just move him out. I already can't remember. Was it this guy? Yeah, it was that guy, right? Yeah, it was this guy. So I think we'll take the DMR out. We'll put this guy in. Obviously, it's quite the ways, because this guy had an average of 41, and now it's all the way down to only 33. But I think part of that is because the crossing isn't high, which doesn't matter that much for box to box, and the positioning and the marking, obviously you would rather them be higher, but not that big a deal, because the thing is they're up and back, so they're typically arriving late and tackling, or the positioning don't matter too much. The marking matters somewhat. The crossing doesn't really matter at all, and these are the attributes that are dragging that average down quite a bit. So yeah, so I'm okay with that. And then we'll go to the scouted players. There are a few keepers today. We're not that interested in keepers. DRC only 40 tackling. Not interested in left backs. DC, I think just he's got nice determination there, and yeah, just not quite where he needs to be at, and we're not really looking for. I'm just looking for a top DC really, which there isn't one at DML. Too old. Don't really need DMC unless they're really great. I mean, he's okay. Maybe we could come back. He's really slow. We don't need him to be fast, but we just don't want him to be really slow. Other than that, though, he's pretty well rounded. I think ultimately we're comparing him what is he, 23, 71, 73, 70. and 25 speed and 68 aerial ability. And I think ultimately we are comparing him to it's going to be this guy who's 1 year younger, and you know, he's got 44 speed, so he's got better aerial ability. I think we're just more happy with this guy, and he's younger. He's got 67 ceiling, 51 overall. So he's got a higher ceiling, but 3 less points on the overall. But I think we're more happy, and the guy we got is a year younger, so I think we're more happy with what we got, to be honest. And then DMR, yeah, we don't really use that. We could potentially add DC to him. He's got 70 speed, 74 tackling, which is sort of okay, but yeah, it's not worth adding a position for that. MCs, let's just glide through them. Don't use AMLs. Before we do that, we might actually go. Let's just quickly finish looking, and if we find an AMC, because we did bid on the auctions, so we not sure. I assume we didn't win, but we should have checked that. So this guy, this guy, 80 finishing, 60. This guy's pretty reasonable. But I think we've discovered that ideally we would have quite a lot of speed in that role, plus his passing is really bad. I think we probably pass on him, but he's pretty decent. This guy, yeah, no AMRs, no, don't use them in our tactic. So right, and then onto the strikers. I think we either want, mostly what we want is a super clinical finisher for the senior team, and none of these are that. Right, let's go to the auctions. I assume we didn't win this guy. Oh, we did win this guy. Well, there you go. So we got was not expecting that. Our first ever auction pickup. So go to our senior squad, and he should be here. There he is. So I think it's a case of, do we want to add the AMC now, or do we want to add striker now? He'll end up being both. It's pretty interesting. I guess it's striker, basically, for now, and then it can be AMC for next season. And then Lorena, it looks like he's now on the bench after being quite awesome, but I think that's what happens. We will get that sorted when we play our next match, and then for the rest of this season we'll make do with Ishikawa and Dokken, I suppose. Probably happy to sell Dokken. Thing is, he's not great, but he could be. We could add MC, but it doesn't really make much sense. So we couldn't do it this season. By the time he gets to next season, he's only got 1 season left on his contract, and yeah, we wouldn't want to use a contract extension on that. So yeah. I don't know if we need to we'll make this decision before we play our next match, I think, because it is legitimate. Like, I think the problem is that Ishikawa is kind of awesome, so you kind of just want to start him. Like, you want to play him as much as possible. So I think you just want to add striker so you can play these two guys as much as possible together, pretty much. I think that's where we're at. and then Saria wouldn't even be on the bench at that point. So we would just be waiting for a bid to sell him. So I think that's okay. We can now look at the auctions and just see if there's another player we want to bid for. So, right, I don't even know now. So we picked that player up. So I guess now we're not really desperate for anything. Still can get like the more perfect version of the AMC. We could get a deep lying playmaker as well. That's probably now the top priority, is that deep line playmaker role. So that's going to be like high passing, tackling, vision, control. Don't think he's quite good enough. Yeah, it looks like the tackling is capped out, so that's going to eliminate him. I think just not quite high enough. I kind of feel like, yeah, it's going to be a tough one to get. I feel like. Yeah, alright. I don't think there's any. He's a bit old now. So, yeah, that's okay. And then the other thing is just the training options. And then, so this guy. Alright, so this is the new guy. So I think we're saying, yeah, that extra 1 speed. Probably take that. And Dolic, it doesn't really matter. So winger, so ultimately you probably just want all this extra flair. Trying to sell him, give me, oh, it's a pretty good option. It's just nowhere near where he needs to be, but I think it's this one. I'm not going to stress too much about that. Lorena, he's a striker that we really like, and we've extended his contract quite a bit, so we're happy to keep this guy long term. So I feel like the dribbling probably what we want. We don't care about the marking at all. And then the agility, so it's like, what is it, 2 extra, the marking really doesn't, compared to everything else, it's very marginal. I feel like in order prioritization, we're saying it's something like dribbling, and then maybe determination, and then we're probably okay with, maybe dribbling is by far the most important, and then determination is the next. It's not much ahead of the others, a little bit I think. So I think you're sort of saying, what is it, like a point in natural? Yeah, it's definitely this one. For sure, just because the dribbling matters the most and the other stuff's pretty close. And this just definitely makes, even if it's probably the other stuff, ignoring if the dribbling wasn't part of it and it was just the other stuff, it probably would just maybe be the B option just, but with the 2 dribbling, it's definitely that side. Mackless, 6 determinate, 5 agility, 1 speed. Dribbling, tackling. He's not playing much, so the determination doesn't help that much. And then outside of that, it's probably this option, because you get the tackling point, which is fine. It's very useful. And outside of that, you get in the 4 extra points in agility, so I think it is that side. Saria, he's got low finishing. He can get 1 more finishing or 1 more composure. I feel like the finishing is going to be more important here. And then, so what are you getting? You're getting a finishing, or you're getting a composure and a positioning. I feel like for sure it's just, well, it's not for sure, but I think it's the finishing. And Joe Field, he's the one we've been sending off the bench, right? Yeah, with the really low endurance. Yeah, with the really low endurance and natural fitness. So in that context, we ideally the control would be higher, so both options involve that up a bit. The vision ideally would be higher. The movement don't care too much about. The flare, yeah, alright. I think on the whole, even though we do care a little bit about this stuff, on the whole it's probably just this option because it gets like, well, determination's really low. Natural fitness is he's only ever come off the bench, so the natural fitness doesn't matter that much. But then I think it's just this is just because there's like 21 attribute points versus 14 or something. It's just so much more points, and for central midfielders, quite often, a lot of other positions, it's not always. It can quite often not be true that the higher points is going to be more useful, but for central midfielders, when it's that big a difference, especially when key attributes, like the big stuff like, I don't know, passing or whatever isn't part of it, it's probably just going to be the one with way more attribute points. I feel like that's true for this guy. And the finishing on this side, that doesn't really matter at all because he's a defensive midfielder. He's just rarely getting forwards enough to shoot at closer range. So yeah, I feel like that's just the right choice. Right, player that doesn't really play, so we're just going to pick, what is it, the tackling, which is so low that doesn't matter at all. So I think we'd rather have the extra aerial ability, the extra endurance, and the extra finishing. And then this guy, we use him so we know what he needs. He gets forward, he beats players, and he scores goals and sets stuff up. He's very attacking, so we just want the stuff that it's just, I think he does run out of energy quite often, but I think it's, unfortunately, it's going to be the one without the extra endurance, because you get the extra passing, which we care about, get the extra finishing, which we care about, the composure bit, sure, the movement bit, sure, but yeah, it's mostly just because of the I think it's this one. So cool, right, so we're done for the day. We will just want to set up our team and think about stuff a bit before we play the next match. For now, we'll just hold on adding a position because we won't play the matches just yet. So we might pick up another striker or another AMC potentially tomorrow or whatever. So we will hold off adding the position until, because we can only add one. So we'll just hold off until we're actually going to play the matches. At the moment, it'll be striker. But if we happen to pick up an awesome striker, then that we will want to start instead of him, even if you could play striker, then we probably will add AMC and yeah, and take it from there. So that's that. So thanks for watching, and catch you for the next one.